you want to write your thesis proposal in Scrivener? Hi, I'm Juliet, and today we're going to look at the research proposal format in Scrivener 3 for Windows. This is a general thesis proposal template devised by Robert Brimhall. In this template there isn't much explanation in the About section, and there's no sample document to look at, so let's just have a look at the binder. In Notes you'll find a place to put any links you want, plus links to a couple of different guidelines. Under Resources there's a Research Steps document with a few pointers on things to remember. The manuscript section of the binder, where it says Proposal Title, which you do need to change to your own title, you'll see why later, contains a series of documents with various standard section titles. The cover is set out with text that you can overtype. Apart from down at the bottom, there's a code for a long date to be inserted, which will be whatever your final compile date is. Now, if we look at Abstract, you'll see that the title is at the top of the page, and then there are some notes on how to write your abstract. Looking at the compile screen whilst writing this, it seems that there are no titles taken from the binder, so you'll need to leave that title in, and in other sections, if you don't want to play with the format in compile. But the notes themselves are simply an overtype with your information. The same is true of introduction, purpose, research, questions, importance, and method of approach. Work plan is a little more complex but is on the same principle. Notes about filling the section out, and a suggested way of displaying that information. Budget contains a table, as you might expect. I'll be interested to see how that compiles. References is once again an example of a layout, but this won't necessarily be correct for your organisation in terms of the specifics, so do check that carefully. Let's look at compile. As you can see, there's a specific research proposal format, and as I mentioned earlier, this is set up very simply, with everything being a text section, with a page break before in the section layout. The compiled document does match the text in the editor, which is Calibri, and the spacing, which is 1.5, so if that's not what you need, you'll have to change it. I'll look at that shortly. The header on the proposal pages has your name, top left in the header, and the title from the binder on the right. Your name must be taken from the author information, as I haven't changed anything in the compile screen, so you'll need to have that filled out. As I suspected, the table doesn't look quite like in the editor, but the columns are different widths, so that's good. But you may still want to adjust this in Word. So let's delve a little into adjusting the format in Scrivener if this doesn't work for you. First, I'm going to change my title in the binder so that it appears in the header. Now, you could do a global change of font in compile if you wanted, but that would cover all the pages, and it's possible you might want something different on the cover, for example. If not, do it in compile. It's by far the easiest. I'll use the abstract as an example for formatting on the page. Although the lack of space after the title looks okay in the editor, it doesn't look so good in the compiled document, so make sure to add a clear line space unless the format you're complying with specifies not to. The other thing is that everything here is set up with block paragraphs apart from references, so no indents. Is that normal for a proposal? If it is, add clear line spaces between all paragraphs. You could set this in compile instead, but that just adds another level of complexity that you probably don't want. Now let's look at changing fonts in the editor. You could set the default font to something different under File, Options, Editing, but if you're overtyping the text, that might get confusing with fonts changing all over the place. So the easiest way to modify in the editor is to select all the text in each document and manually change the font. Of course, this won't change headers and footers in your compiled document, but you might want to do that in Word rather than delving into headers and footers in compile. However, if you do, you'll find it under Page Settings in the compile format, which you can access by right-clicking and choosing Edit. With regards to the budget table, the main thing you need to think about here is that the table isn't going to add up for you. If you have a lot of elements, you might want to import a JPEG of your calculations from elsewhere. Or leave filling this out until you generate your Word file, and then you can add a simple add function to the total. So that's the research proposal format with a few suggestions for customizing. There are so many possible changes for this one that it's impossible for me to cover every eventuality, but I do have quite a few other videos about customizing other formats that might help you with something that I haven't mentioned. If you're interested in breakdowns of other academic formats, check out this playlist next.